My cousin and wife had a baby behind my back. When I refused to pay for it, my mother showed up at my garage yelling that I was destroying the family. The message came out of nowhere. I was under the hood of a '99 Tacoma, elbow deep in grease and coolant, when my phone buzzed in my back pocket. Figured it was Mia checking if I wanted sandwiches or leftovers for lunch. Instead, it was a name I hadn't seen in over 10 years. Derek. Just that name on the screen made my stomach twist. I didn't open it right away. I finished the job, washed my hands twice, still felt the grime on my skin. Then I read it. Hey Jonah, I know it's been a long time. Just wanted to reach out. Grandma's not doing too good. She's been asking about you a lot. We all have. Maybe it's time to fix things. I sat there in the shop's break room, staring at that message like it might bite me. My name's Jonah Keller. I'm 36. I run a small garage out in Driftwood, Texas. Married 5 years to Mia. No kids, just us and our dog, Rags. Life's been simple. Not easy, but simple. I built everything I've got with my own 2 hands, literally. And I've kept my distance from my family for a damn good reason. Derek? Derek was the golden boy. Good grades, clean shoes, family favorite. Grandma raised us both after our moms disappeared and our dads were, well, not much. I was the backup kid. If Derek got the steak, I got the bone. So why now? I showed Mia the text that night. She tilted her head the way she always did when something didn't sit right. You gonna write him back? Don't know yet. Do you want to? That was the question, wasn't it? Took me a day. Then I typed out. Didn't know Grandma was sick. Thanks for letting me know. He wrote back fast, like he'd been waiting. We traded a few messages. Then he asked if I wanted to come by, see her. She'd love it, he said. We all would. Against every red flag waving in my head, I agreed. It was strange walking into Grandma's old house again. The carpet smelled the same. That lemon cleaner, the dusty old curtains. She looked smaller than I remembered, her voice softer but still sharp. She cried when she saw me. My boy, she kept whispering. Derek hovered behind her, all clean-shaven and charming as ever. But his eyes flicked to mine too often. Like he was watching. Measuring. Over the next few weeks, Derek started showing up more. Inviting me to cookouts. Saying Aunt Cheryl wanted to see me. Even Uncle Walt, who once told me to my face I'd never amount to more than a busted wrench. I don't know why I said yes. Part of me thought maybe they changed. Maybe I changed. Maybe I could finally belong. Then I brought Derek out to our place. We don't have much. A 2-bedroom out past the tree line, gravel driveway, rusted wind chimes on the porch. But it's home. I introduced him to Mia. She smiled, offered him lemonade, like she always does. He complimented the house, then said it reminded him of a fixer-upper you see on those cable shows. I didn't like his tone. Still, I brushed it off. Told myself I was being sensitive. Paranoid. I was giving family another chance. Maybe that was my first mistake. At first, it didn't bother me much. Derek started dropping by the garage now and then. Sometimes with coffee. Sometimes just to shoot the breeze. Said he was between gigs, something with marketing, maybe real estate. I wasn't sure. Derek always talked big and vague. He'd lean against the workbench and make jokes while I did oil changes. Talk to the customers like he owned the place. You know, he said once, you could really blow this place up with the right branding. Social media. Maybe a fresh logo. I just grunted and kept working. I didn't need a logo. I needed spark plugs and rent paid. But then he started coming by the house. Mia didn't seem to mind. I'd get home, and she'd be laughing at something he said in the kitchen, or I'd hear them out on the back deck. He always brought something, wine, baked goods, once even a Bluetooth speaker, just to set the mood during dinner. Mia called it sweet. I called it weird. Don't you think it's a little much? I asked her one night while she folded laundry. Him showing up so often? He's just being friendly, she said without looking up. You said it yourself, he's trying to reconnect. Yeah, with me, I thought. Not my wife. Then came the little things. Derek standing too close behind her at the sink. His hand resting a second too long on her shoulder when he laughed. Private jokes I didn't understand. I'd walk in, and they'd stop talking, like I interrupted something. I asked Mia about it. You're imagining things, she said, frowning. God, Jonah. He's your cousin. Can you not be weird about this? I wanted to believe her. I really did. Then one afternoon, I pulled into the driveway and saw Derek's car already there. I wasn't due home for another hour. I walked in, and they were sitting on the couch, real close, watching some show, both holding wine glasses. It was barely 5. Mia jumped up. Oh, you're home early. Yeah, I said slowly, eyes on Derek. Customer canceled. Lucky me. He smiled like nothing was wrong. You want a glass? I didn't answer. I just stared at him, and for a second, just one, his smile dropped. A week later, Mia came into the garage while I was closing up. I need to tell you something, she said, arms crossed, eyes wide. My stomach sank. What? I'm pregnant. I stared at her. My mind went blank. then flooded with heat. What? I'm pregnant, she said again, stepping closer. You're going to be a dad. And for a second, just a second, I was overjoyed. I laughed, pulled her in, kissed her forehead. But then I saw it, that look in her eyes. Hesitant, like she was bracing for impact. And later, when I told Derek the news, he grinned real slow and said, wow, big news. Congrats, man. I mean it. Then he winked. He winked. And right then, I knew something was very, very wrong. I couldn't sleep that night. Mia lay beside me, curled up like she always did, breathing steady, peaceful, like she hadn't just detonated my whole world and handed me a party hat. I stared at the ceiling for hours. My chest felt like it was packed with concrete. That wink Derek gave me, it played over and over again in my mind. That smug little flicker of his eye. Like we shared some joke, and I was the punchline. At some point around 2 a.m., I got out of bed, quiet as I could. Went to the kitchen, sat there in the dark for a while. Then I saw her tablet on the counter. I don't even know what I was looking for. I wasn't the snooping type, but something in my gut told me not to ignore it anymore. The screen lit up when I tapped it. No password. Maybe she trusted me. Maybe she didn't think I'd ever look. Messages. Photos. Her cloud storage. I opened her messenger app, and there it was. Derek. Top of the thread. I scrolled, and scrolled, and scrolled. Messages. Flirty. Then dirty. Then downright disgusting. Pictures too. Ones I'd never seen before. Poses that weren't meant for me. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. I told myself it couldn't be real. But the timestamps were all recent. Some from the night I worked late. Some while I was at the parts store. The worst was the one she sent with the caption. He still thinks it's his. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. My hand shaking so bad I nearly dropped the damn tablet. I went back into the bedroom and looked at her. Really looked. Her face relaxed, one arm under the pillow. I thought about how many times I'd kissed that mouth. Held her hand. Believed her lies. Then I left. Didn't say a word. Didn't take anything but my keys. I drove to the garage and slept on the little cot in the back office. Woke up cold and angry and hollow. The next morning, I called Grandma. I needed something comfort, maybe. Someone to tell me I wasn't crazy. She answered on the second ring. Jonah? Everything okay? No, I said. Not really. I told her everything. I left nothing out. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, you know, maybe this is God's way of pushing you back toward your family. I blinked. What? You and Derek, this is just one mistake. He's still your blood. And Mia, well, maybe she was lonely. Maybe you were too busy with your work. My jaw clenched. You're saying this is my fault? I'm saying, she said calmly, sometimes people stray when they feel unseen. Maybe it's time you do what's right for the family. The line went quiet. I hung up. That was the moment I realized I didn't have a family. Not really. I had people who tolerated me when I was useful and dismissed me when I wasn't. I sat in my garage, surrounded by tools and rusted steel and the only honest work I'd ever known. And for the first time in my life, I felt completely and utterly alone. I filed for divorce the next day. Didn't wait. Didn't warn her. Just walked in, handed her the papers, and said, sign whenever you're ready. Mia stared at them like they were written in a foreign language. You're serious? As a heart attack. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just set the folder down on the counter and went back to stirring her tea like I hadn't just blown up our entire marriage. The next week was a whirlwind. Lawyers, paperwork, endless questions. Mia and Derek lawyered up fast. Together. That should have told me everything. And then came the real knife to the ribs. They were trying to paint me as unstable, emotional, volatile, her lawyer said. Jonah has a tendency to withdraw and isolate, Mia claimed in her statement. He often slept in the shop overnight, sometimes without notice. It made me feel unsafe. They were laying the groundwork for a financial ambush, trying to snatch everything they could on the way out. Half my savings, her name on the house, even wanted a portion of the garage business. And worst of all, some of the town started buying into it. Driftwood's small. You can't get a sandwich without hearing about your neighbor's affair or someone's kid getting arrested. And now I was the man who couldn't keep his wife happy, who snapped when she moved on. Some of my regulars stopped showing up. A couple vendors got cold. I could feel it in the way people talked to me, like I was some ticking time bomb. Then one night I got a call. Jonah. The voice said, rough and familiar. It's me, Uncle Ray. Derek's dad. Hadn't heard from him in years. Just wanted to talk, man to man. You know, clear the air. I almost hung up, but I didn't. You know, this thing with Derek and Mia, he said. It's messy. But she's pregnant, Jonah. There's a child in the middle of all this. Not mine. I know. But he's going to be part of our family. Yours too, whether you like it or not. He paused, like he was about to say something real noble. I was thinking, he continued. Maybe it's time to let bygones be bygones. Maybe you can help Derek out. Just a little. For the baby. I laughed. I actually laughed into the phone. You want me to give them money? It's not about money. It's about doing what's right. We're blood, Jonah. No, I said. You're blood. I'm just the ATM. I hung up. The next morning, Derek showed up at my garage. Didn't even knock. Just walked right in like he still had the right. You've made things really hard, he said, voice all fake concern. Mia's stressed. The baby. Don't say one more word about that baby, I warned. He stepped forward. You think this is about the garage? The money? You lost, Jonah. You lost the girl, the family, everything. You should be grateful she's with me now. Grateful? I walked around the counter, got right in his face. You ever show up here again, I said, low and cold. I'll have you removed. Permanently. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You never fit, you know? You were always the extra. The spare. I opened the garage door and pointed outside. Out. Now. He left. And that was the moment I stopped trying to salvage anything. The bridge wasn't just burned. It was dust. The breakdown didn't happen in private like I would have preferred. It happened in front of a line of customers at the service counter of Darrow and Sons Ford, right between an oil filter upsell and a guy complaining about tire rotation wait times. She showed up mid-morning. My mother. Hadn't seen her in years. Not since the last Thanksgiving where I sat at the far end of the table and no one noticed I left before dessert. Jonah, she called out across the lobby, loud enough to turn heads. We need to talk. I was stunned for a second. Just stood there with a clipboard in hand, trying to process what I was seeing. She looked older than I remembered, more frail, but her voice was still sharp enough to cut through drywall. She marched right up to the counter, eyes red-rimmed like she'd been working up to this moment all morning. You're tearing this family apart, she said, loud and shaking. Do you know what Derek is going through? What Mia is dealing with? People went quiet. The service desk guys looked at each other, awkward as hell. A woman waiting for her oil change put her phone down, clearly invested. I kept my tone even. Mom, this isn't the place. I don't care, she snapped. You've always been stubborn. Always made everything harder than it needed to be. But this? Walking away from your family? From your responsibilities? I took a breath. They're not my responsibilities anymore. She looked genuinely shocked, like the thought had never even crossed her mind. Jonah, you're acting like you're some kind of victim. But Mia is pregnant, and Derek is doing the best he can. A short, bitter laugh escaped me. Is that what you believe? I believe in family, she said, straightening her spine. I believe in second chances. I believe you need to forgive. No, I said. You believe in keeping things quiet. In pretending everything's fine even when it's burning down. You don't believe in me. You never have. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. You raised Derek to be the center of everything, I continued. And you taught me that my only worth came from what I could give, time, work, money, whatever. Never once did you ask what I needed. The room was silent. You could hear a socket wrench drop 2 bays over. She looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. And maybe she was. You don't mean that, she whispered. I do, I said, softer now. I mean every word. Then I turned and walked away, back into the garage, leaving her standing there with everyone watching. Later, my manager pulled me aside. Family trouble? Yeah. He gave me a long look, then just said, clock out early today if you need to. That night, I went home, turned off my phone, and pulled out the notebook Mia once bought me as a joke, said I needed something to do besides work. I opened to a clean page and wrote, they want a version of me that forgets. I'm done being that man. Then I blocked every number that mattered and finally let myself breathe. A few days later, the letter showed up in my mailbox like some twisted joke. A formal request, through Mia and Derek's lawyer, to increase the alimony payments, citing new hardships and financial instability due to unforeseen medical and employment challenges. In other words, Mia quit her job, Derek still had none, and the baby, his baby, was on the way. I stared at the envelope for a long time, then tossed it on the kitchen table and laughed out loud. Not the funny kind. The bitter, exhausted, "You've got to be kidding me" kind. They were still coming for more. Still trying to milk whatever pieces they thought were left of me. So I called a lawyer. A new one. Not the guy I used during the divorce. This time I wanted someone mean. Sharp. The kind that left paper cuts just from shaking hands. We met the next day. I laid it all out. Mia, Derek, the affair, the financial manipulation, the new baby, the smear campaign. My lawyer leaned back in her chair. You kept all your messages and records? Every last one. Good, she said. Let's hit back. Over the next week, we built our case like a war plan. Turns out Mia had been hiding income from a part-time remote job she didn't disclose. Derek? He wasn't officially living at her place. He was still using his dad's address to dodge taxes and avoid being named in anything legal. We dug up messages, social media posts, even Derek's smug little online fundraiser for new dad starting fresh that mentioned my garage by name. My cousin owns a successful auto shop, hoping he'll lend a hand as I take this journey into fatherhood. Unbelievable. By the time court day rolled around, I wasn't even nervous. I was ready. Mia sat 2 rows ahead, looking thinner, her hair tied back too tight like she was trying to look fragile. Derek was there, too, in a wrinkled button-down that didn't fit. He wouldn't look at me. Good. When our turn came, their lawyer droned on about how Jonah's sudden withdrawal of support had created emotional and financial strain, and how it was in the best interest of the child to maintain a standard of living. Then my lawyer stood up and destroyed every inch of it. Presented the messages, the photos, the false income statements. Showed how they misrepresented facts during the divorce. Pointed out how the baby was not biologically mine, and that my legal obligation was already more than generous. The final blow came when she held up Mia's bank transfers from a Venmo account hidden under a fake name. Their side had nothing. The judge was calm but direct. Request for increased alimony is denied. Furthermore, based on new evidence, the original alimony amount is hereby reduced by 35%. Effective immediately. Mia gasped like someone punched the air out of her. Derek's jaw clenched. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. It wasn't about the money. It was about the line they kept crossing and me finally putting a stop to it. As we walked out of the courtroom, Derek caught up with me in the hallway. You think this changes anything? I stopped. Turned. Yeah, it changes everything. You're not going to get rid of us that easy. I took one step closer. You already did. He didn't say anything else. Back home, I opened my notebook and wrote. I gave them chances. I gave them grace. Now I'm giving them distance. And for once, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I felt like I was finally walking away. It was a Thursday morning when he showed up. I heard the knock before I even had coffee. Looked through the window and nearly laughed. My father. Hadn't seen him in years. He left when I was a kid and only resurfaced when Grandma got sick last fall. Always was better at disappearing than staying. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Jonah, he said with that familiar half-smile. Mind if we talk? I do, actually. He scratched the back of his neck. I heard about everything. With Derek. Mia. The court stuff. Everybody hears everything, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Small town. He nodded like that explained the world. Look, I know I haven't been around. I know I didn't raise you the way I should have. But Derek, he's a good kid. He made a mistake. I laughed, short and sharp. You call that a mistake? He flinched, then recovered. We've all screwed up, Jonah. That's what families do. But they also fix things. And right now, this family's falling apart. I looked him in the eye. Where were you, I asked, when I was sleeping in the back of my truck during high school? When I needed a ride to work? When Grandma couldn't afford her medication and I sold my damn tools to cover it? He looked down. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. He didn't deny it. I came here, he said, because you're the only one holding a grudge. You could end all this. You could bring us back together. I shook my head slowly. I'm not the one who tore it apart. Then I closed the door. He didn't knock again. A few days later, I got a call from Aunt Cheryl. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Hi, sweetheart, she said. Long time. She jumped right in. Look, I'm not picking sides. I just think everyone's hurting right now, and someone's got to be the grown-up. I said nothing. I know Derek messed up. And Mia too. But they're young. They're trying to build a life. And this feud, it's getting ugly. People are talking. Let them. She sighed. It's not about pride, Jonah. It's about peace. Don't you want to have holidays again? Sit around a table like normal people. You mean with the people who lied to me, cheated on me, stole from me, and tried to ruin me in court? That's dramatic, she said quickly. No one tried to ruin you. I let that hang in the air. They just want closure, she said. Can't you be the bigger person? I smiled to myself. I'd heard that line before. Always directed at the person who'd been stomped on. If they wanted peace, I said, they should have valued me before tearing my life apart. Her voice turned sharp. You're being ungrateful. You think you're above the rest of us now, just because you. I hung up mid-sentence. Later, I blocked her number too. That night, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel bitter. I felt calm. Finally, I wasn't holding the door open for people who never once wiped their feet. The voicemail came on a quiet Sunday. I was in the garage, fixing up an old Bronco someone traded in for parts and a handshake. Rags was asleep in the corner. A country station hummed low on the radio. My phone buzzed. Hi, Jonah. This is Carla from Rothman and Fields. Just wanted to let you know all the paperwork's finalized. Divorce, property, financials, everything's done. You're officially free to move on. Take care. I played it twice. Then I put down my wrench and just sat there for a minute, staring at nothing in particular, letting the words settle. You're officially free to move on. I didn't cry. I didn't cheer. I just exhaled, long, slow, quiet. Like I'd been holding my breath for 2 years and finally remembered how to let go. That night, I stayed late in the garage. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Cleaned out some shelves, rearranged the old parts, swept the floor until it looked like something I could be proud of again. I wasn't doing it for anyone else anymore. A couple good friends dropped by around 7. Mason and Tasha, a married couple who ran the coffee shop down the road. They brought barbecue and beers and sat on the shop floor with me while we ate like it was nothing special. "You look different," Mason said, biting into a rib. "Lighter, maybe." "Maybe," I said. Tasha nudged me. "That weight's been gone a long time. You just finally noticed." They weren't wrong. I wasn't waking up with dread in my chest anymore. I wasn't checking my phone every hour for new demands or guilt trips. I wasn't watching my back or wondering who was lying to my face. My days belonged to me again. After they left, I took Rags for a walk out by the old fence line. The night air was warm, sky full of stars. The kind of quiet you only get out in the country, where nobody's trying to sell you anything or pretend there's something they're not. When we got back, I opened the notebook again. Same one I'd been scribbling in since everything started. On a clean page, I wrote, "They called me bitter, selfish, cold. They said I broke the family. But the truth is, the family broke me. And when I finally stood up, they called it betrayal. If that makes me the villain, fine. I'll wear the horns with pride." I closed the book, slid it into the top drawer of my desk. The next morning, I opened the garage early. First customer was an old man with a busted starter and a story about Vietnam. I fixed his truck, didn't overcharge him, and sent him on his way. And just like that, the day kept going. No drama, no battles, no games. Just life. Mine.